I have a question about health.
Good.
About a year ago, I had sort of a cancer scare, and at the time they said, well, you should come back for a yearly checkup. And I don't want to buy into that constant looking for something, creating it by looking. But I'm wondering if that my thought is already so stimulated to that fact that it's there, that it's something I should go and look for still. I'm real stuck with that concept.
There is not anything in the universe that is always right and always wrong. In other words, no laws that say this is always the thing to do and this is not. But there is that which is absolutely appropriate unto you, appropriate unto this moment, you see. And so that is what you're seeking. Not the rightness in terms of the standards of the universe, but what is best for you, which includes what you want and what you believe. And so as you keep talking about what you want, your inner being will guide you to the action that will bring you to the place that you are wanting to be, which may include a physician saying all clear, all is well, in order to offer that sort of reassurance. Do you see what? In other words, let us say that your house is on fire, and so the firemen come with their hose and truck and they spray the water into your house, and you say, oh, that is a very good thing. That is right. But then they come on another day when there is no fire and they do the same thing. They spray their water into your house, and then you say, that was not right. And so what you are wanting is to respond to the purest guidance that is available to you, which is not outside of you. In other words, nobody else can tell you what is appropriate, because nobody else understands the balance of thought that is within you. Now here's what we would do. You acknowledge that your inner being exists in a place of pure well-being, do you not? You have a very strong sense of that. That's who your inner being is. And so as you have, for whatever reason, it matters not at all, you don't have to go back and explain it or even figure it out, attracted something that is less than that. And you felt the negative emotion in response to that, because well-being is what you are seeking, and what you were experiencing, at least temporarily, was not that. If you will lie yourself in your bed with the intent of basking in the pleasure of your well-being, let's see if we can put it in these terms. Remember that every subject is two subjects, and so there is the subject of wellness or the subject of lack of it, and cancer falls in the category of lack of it. And so as you've had this scare, as you say, a scare, fear, always an indicator that the thought is not in harmony with who you really are. And so the great fear is because when you're focused there, your inner being hightails it off into the bushes. Not really, but you hold yourself in a place where your inner being cannot flood you with the feeling of well-being. Your thought of fear, your thought of cancer, your thought of illness is so discordant with who you really are, which is absolute wellness, that as you focus there, you've disconnected. And that is really the reason for the deterioration of the apparatus, or for the allowance of something that you do not want always. And so then as you find your place of well-being, where you feel a little bit better, then it is not possible, as you are vibrating in a place that feels good, for anything that is not in harmony to get in. It just cannot. It is defiant of law. Physical man has a sense of that. But the way he thinks that he will keep things from getting in is by guarding against them. I will resist it. You've heard the expression, resist not evil? Very good reason for it. Anything that you give your attention to becomes your experience. You've heard of that tar baby, have you not? That sticky little creature that is hidden in the woods, used as a trap, and you say, get away from me, and now your hand is stuck. Get away from me, I'm not wanting you, now your hand is stuck. Get away from me, now your foot is stuck. Then you get your head in it. And then you yell, help, help, and then your friend comes and gets his hand stuck in it too, you see. The way to release yourself from something you do not want is to release your thoughts from it. But you can't not think of something, can you? But you can think of something else. And so when you're thinking of the cancer and you feel the negative emotion, which is the signal that your inner being isn't playing the game with you, your inner being is well and knows it is well and is not about to give any energy to your negative creation, and so it goes away. Or at least the energy is not available to you, and it is a good thing, isn't it? How would it be if your inner being was as your physical friends and said, oh, so sorry, oh, too bad, getting involved in the sympathy and the empathy, giving the attention and the focus and the power of all of that? Your inner being has amassed power over thousands of lifetimes. You are really not wanting your inner being to add its power to your negative creating, you see. And so the very negative emotion you feel is a good thing. Fear is a very good signal. It means your inner being has disconnected and is not adding power to your negative creating. And so next time you feel frightened or angry or uncomfortable about something, acknowledge, inner being isn't part of this, it's all me. Do I want it? Obviously not. What do I want? And then as you give your attention to what you do want, then your inner being begins to flood that energy back into you. And you feel the power of your inner being literally empowering you toward the wellness rather than empowering you toward the illness, you see. What will happen is you will literally receive, just as our friend Jerry did, an inspiration or a compulsion to move in the direction that will most harmonize with your intentions. And what you want more than anything else is reassurance, you see. The fear that there may be something there that isn't there will eventually bring it on. And so your inner being knows all of this about you, and so if you've been getting an inclination, maybe I should go back and get this checked out. We would say follow the inclination. Get it checked out. Hear your good report so that you can get on with your experience, you see. Good.
Now, so are you saying...
Yes.
As opposed to... No.
What
okay,
is
are
the
you
bugaboo
saying
here?
that if you feel a fear, I feel a fear, I should go to the doctor because I'm frightened, as opposed to I feel, boy, I should go to the doctor because I want to get some answers?
We would never take action from a place of negative emotion. If you are feeling fear, we would not encourage you to take action. We would encourage you to understand what the fear is. This fear is here because I'm focused upon lack of something I want, and what I'm experiencing in this fear is the absence of my inner being. Now, what is it that I want? And then as you talk about what you want, then your inner being will come back into full interaction with you, and then the inspiration will come. No, we would never encourage you to take action from a place of fear. We are appreciating your clarification.
Okay. So about a half a century ago, I was in Cuba, and a friend of mine, a dentist, looked at my mouth as a gift, Christmas gift, and said, you have 17 cavities, and I'll fill them. It was Christmas Eve, and he said, I'll fill them now. And so when he gave me the deadening shot, I turned green, and he says, I'm worried about your heart. And,
Good. Now, let's stop right there. The dentist who knows more than you do, more than anyone,
First
usually,
dentist that ever looked at my mouth in my
but
life.
because of their credentials and because of their training, do not most of you revere them as knowing? And so you allowed the guidance of another to guide you.
Just to look, because he was doing it to all my friends, too, on the show.
He did more than look. Did he not put a needle in your mouth?
Oh, then he did. Yeah, now he's got that far, yeah.
Now, his training is to look for that which is wrong, correct?
Yes.
And so as he found that which was wrong, then he did the next thing that he does, which is to fix what is wrong.
Yes.
And at that point, what do you think your turning green was about?
He asked me why I thought I was green, and I said, I think I don't trust needles and doctors, because somebody had done something once before and it didn't work with a needle. And so he said, well, then I don't want to do this. He said, I'm going to fill this one because I've already started drilling.
The turning green was about your inner being not wanting to be part of any of this. In other words, you were in the midst of something that was going against that which you wanted, and so your inner being withdrew its energy from you. And the result of that is always a weakening of the knees, is it not?
Yeah, well, I was laying down. Okay, and so then he said, when you get back to the United States, go see a dentist and get these teeth fixed. So when I got back, as soon as I got back to Miami, he had my attention, so I went to the first dentist and I knocked on the door, and I didn't say, would you fix my teeth? I said, would you look at my teeth? And he said, certainly. And he said, what, beautiful teeth? He said, you don't have a cavity in your head. He said, I've never seen any teeth that look, he said, except for that one filling. I said, thank you, what do I owe you? And he said, nothing. And I went to the next dentist, this is years ago, and I knocked on the door, and he said, come in. I said, would you look at my teeth? He said, yeah. He said, you got 7 cavities. I can fill these and you'll be right out of here. And I said, no, thank you, what do I owe you? And whatever it was. And I went down the street and I knocked on the door and I said, would you look at my teeth? And he said, yes. He said,
and
17
so let us
cavities.
talk about the difference in their perspectives. Is it possible that what they saw had to do with their place of attraction? In other words, the one who saw no cavities had no time for you. The one who saw 7 had time for 7. You think that we are kidding. Do you not understand that any time that you are interacting with another, their intentions become part of the equation? And that only your own inner being can help you know the integrity of whether their intentions harmonize with yours or not? But how many of you even know what your intentions are? How often? Most of you are not really clear about what your intentions are. We would say there is only one intention that is really of great importance or value to you, and that is the clear acknowledgement that nothing is more important than that I feel good. Because when I feel good, I am connected with who I really am and have broader perspective about everything.
What made me feel the best in all that was the no cavities story. And so I went with that one. And then 35 years ago, I had a friend in Beverly Hills I was staying with who was a dentist, and I told him the same story, and he says, "Oh, I can't believe that." He says, "Let me look at your teeth." So he x-rayed him. He says, "I found 7 cavities." And I said to him, "Thank you, too," because I felt a lot better by not letting him drill. And so here I am 35 years later, half a century later, and I still don't have any cavities, except that first hole that the guy drilled.
What is difficult for what we're talking about
You
here?
understand what I'm...
We do indeed.
Oh, thank you.
What is important about what you are bringing forth here is that we're, and they were, in a sort of contest about what is the reality of it. Yeah. In other words, how many cavities are there? Certainly someone must know the actual fact.
Right.
The fact of this. What is the reality of this? And what we are saying to you is that there is not that which is a reality that is ever agreed upon by any two. Oh, there are things that you have become very accustomed about. But we watched Esther. She came into the bedroom. She had been working very late the night before, working upon a book, and had shut everything down rather late at night and crawled into bed, exhausted and a little bit pulling on a negative rope because she was in a place of fatigue, and that is almost always when you do your most negative pulling, is it not? When you are fatigued. She crawled into her bed, and in the morning she crawled back into the office with the intent of resuming where she had left off. And she acknowledged right away that her mate had been working at her desk before she got up. And so she started pulling on that negative rope just a little bit. "I wish he would not work at my desk. He has his own. When he works at my desk, he moves things around. When he moves things around, I cannot find them." And so now she has pretty good momentum going on her newfound perspective, and as she looked for chapter 15, it was gone. And so she went to find him out in the chicken yard. "What have you done?" "Good morning," she said. "I love you very much. What have you done with chapter 15? He said, "I did not move it. It was there when I went to bed. It is not there when I get up. You are the only one that has been in there. Now what could have possibly happened to it?" He is smiling, for he has been through this sort of inquisition before. "Do not worry," he says. "It will turn up." Esther goes back into the office. The telephone rings. Someone comes to the door. She is distracted. And then she sits back at her computer and looks down, and there is chapter 15. Right where it was, there was a little book that was laying on top of it, but it was sticking out all around the edges. But in her belief that when he sits at her desk, he moves things around, and when he moves things around, she cannot find them, in the perspective that she had been pulling upon, it was not possible for her to see that which was there. And so we say, can it not be any other way than that the thought that you have been offering in prepaving is affecting what you are seeing and hearing and knowing in your now? And so, what is reality?
Right.
Reality is your perception. And we do not really see any point in arguing or looking for other physical beings to validate your reality. We would say it is far more powerful to connect with who you really are and let your inner being be a validator of your reality, because your inner being has spent thousands of lifetimes coming to the point to acknowledge that his reality is wonderful. His reality is prosperous, healthy, well, wise, knowing, growing, happy, free. That's the perspective of your inner being. Why would you want to don anyone else's perspective other than that, you see?
Because they're professionals. In other words, if I have a legal question or a problem or situation, I always consult a number of attorneys, and I pick the one that says the nicest thing back to me as the way we go.
You are still utilizing the guidance from your inner being when you choose the one that harmonizes the most with that which feels good to you. Okay. And so you are going about it in a physical way and then acknowledging your guidance to guide you. That is very healthy.
So how do we know, say we have some situation come up, how do we know whether to go to the professional, let's say a physician, or when do we follow our own feelings?
Always follow your own feelings, and don't go to the physician unless your own feelings guide you there.
Good.
Always follow that which comes forth from within.